Shalom and welcome to Parasha Espresso, the weekly fix for spiritual lessons taken from the Parasha. Grab your coffee and let's take a look at the weekly Torah reading. This week we'll be looking at Parashat Vayechi, which runs from Genesis chapter 47 verse 28 to chapter 50 verse 26. Enjoy it, and don't forget to give us your feedback on Facebook, Twitter, or via our website.
You will meet a stranger who will help you in ways that you do not expect. That's more or less standard fare when it comes to horoscopes. Vague, ambiguous comments about the future. Some people spend all their time reading their horoscope because they're convinced that they can find out some details about the future. And let's face it, we humans are a pretty curious breed. We would love to get a look into what the future holds for us. We want to know that everything is going to turn out all right. Speaking of turning out all right, all's going well for Jacob and his large family in Egypt. In fact, this week's Torah portion is very special because it not only rounds up both Jacob's and Joseph's stories, but the entire book of Bereshit as well. Jacob is about to die, and so he calls his family together in order to bless them in the typical patriarchal manner. Right until the end, he remains a figure of controversy as he chooses to give the right of the firstborn of Joseph's sons to Ephraim, the younger son, instead of to Manasseh, the elder son. Sounds familiar, right? He then embarks on a mix of blessing his sons and telling their futures, though not in the magazine horoscope way, because each of them receive very, very specific benedictions. Their pinpoint accuracy will only become known once his sons enter the land of Israel many years later. But perhaps one of the most interesting prophecies is Judah's, which claims that his tribe will be the one from whom kings come, until a mysterious figure called Shiloh comes, who will be obeyed by the nations of the world. So Jacob dies and is buried by his family back in the land of Canaan, followed by a huge Egyptian funeral cortege. Joseph's brothers suddenly doubt his motives and plead with him not to kill them. Joseph is relaxed and explains that it's all forgiven, and then promises to provide for them and all their families. The book ends with Joseph predicting that God will one day bring his family, which has now become actually a people, the people of Israel, out of the land of Egypt and give them a country as per his promise to Abraham. The book of Bereshit has been a real roller coaster ride, from the beauty of creation to the catastrophe of the fall of humanity, from the hope of animal skin clothes and a rescuer who will crush the serpent's head to the destruction of most of the world. From ambitious building projects to ambitious family projects, from rags to riches. Bereshit has it all. It tells the story of our past, has lessons in it which apply to our lives today, and even peeked into the future when it talked about the coming rescuer. People read horoscopes because they want to know about the future. But ultimately, the vague, ambiguous prophecies that are given are very easy to self-interpret. In fact, they're not genuine prophecies at all. Ironically, God actually wants us to know what will happen in the future, and He's not shy about telling us. The problem is we tend to try and look at what the future holds instead of looking to Him who holds the future. In Bereshit, and then in the rest of the Torah, and then on into the Nevi'im and Ketuvim, God consistently tells us what will happen in the future, so that we will know that He's real, that He's good, and that we can trust Him. He gave hundreds of prophecies about the coming of the Messiah, most of which remain unknown to the vast majority of our Jewish people because we stopped reading our book and we picked up others. God warned us that He was going to send the Messiah, but that we wouldn't recognize Him when He came, because He wasn't going to be the Messiah we wanted. As a Jewish people, we've always wanted a Messiah to save us from our enemies, when actually we needed a Messiah to save us from ourselves. The broken, corrupt nature we have needed to be first defeated so that God could give us a new heart, as Ezekiel predicted, and so that God could write His Torah on our hearts, as Jeremiah predicted. Through His death and resurrection, Yeshua ben Yosef Menatzeret, Jesus of Nazareth, accomplished this. And we know that one day He's coming again to bring about the world peace that we all so desperately long for. What about you? What does your future hold? Are you worried about what will become of you in this life? What about in the next? Ultimately, because of Yeshua, God promises you a hope and a future. If you put your trust in Him, no matter what happens, you will be safe. Our stories are somewhat like Joseph's. They go through ups and downs, but because we put our trust in God, He works our lives for good in the end. Don't waste time worrying about what the future holds, but come now to the one who holds your future.
That's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed our Parasha Espresso. Please don't forget to subscribe to make sure you get the latest episodes. We'd love to hear from you, so please get in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or via our website at judenfürjesus.de.